Welcome to Outlander Media Network. I'm Josh Berry, and today I'm joined by James Baker from the band Rorschach Test. How's it going, James?
Going great. How you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Well, let's jump right in. I wanted to start a little bit with your background in music and the arts. I read that you actually started in church doing kind of like hymns and gospel music first.
Right. Well, I grew up in a church, I guess you could say, very church-oriented home. And that meant that we went to church on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and then usually one other night or, some event that was going on. And music was always a part of that thing. And so I was fortunate in that I got so much exposure to, I guess it would just be organ and piano music, which later would translate into keyboards and things of that nature in my music career. But yeah, you could definitely say that I was introduced and exposed to the basics of music there in church. And I still love some of those super old hymns. Martin Luther's "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God" is really a pretty cool song. And later, I found out, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but speaking of Martin Luther, who you'll find in the songbooks of most traditional congregations in the United States. Do you know where he got his inspiration in writing those hymns?
I don't. I want to say God.
Well, yeah, God, it's all God in the end. But actually, Martin used to go hang out at the tavern. He was known he was notorious for being at the tavern almost every day. In fact, he would teach his theology students at the bar.
Huh.
And he one afternoon while he was drinking, he was thinking, how can I reach out to the world and share my message with them in a way that they will be able to, that they will accept. And he heard some old bar tunes being sung in the background. And it's a known fact that song that I mentioned, "A Mighty Fortress Is Our God," is actually an adaptation of a bar tune.
Oh
So
wow, that's
yeah,
cool.
so he took a tune that was really popular in the bar, put his lyrics on it, and it became that hymn.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like shutting down the bar at 3 a.m. over there
Right,
in
right, right.
England.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Man, so how did you transition from like this hymns and gospel to the industrial metal kind of underground world that you are in now?
Well, I was always a fan when I was young of what they called secular music. And I about once a year, this guy would come to our church, and he's still around today. In fact, he lives where I live in Phoenix here. His name was Bob Larson. You guys know who Bob Larson is?
Is
Anyone?
he a songwriter, like a
No.
Christian?
No. Bob
Okay.
Larson, he used to have a nationally syndicated radio program where he would go up against rock musicians. He'd have them on his show, and they would debate.
Oh,
And,
cool.
and one of the most famous debates that he had was with Deicide's guy, lead singer, and they went back and forth for about 2 or 3 hours. It was pretty interesting. But Bob would come to our church. He'd have a suitcase full of records, and I couldn't wait for this every year because he'd get them out and he'd say, he'd hold up a Queen record and he'd say, "Now, do you know what this band is named after? Where they got their name?" And everyone would be like, "No." The kids would be like, "No." And he'd say, "It's from something so filthy that I can't even mention it here in church." So all of these innuendos of all this cool secretive stuff going on in rock music too. The Led Zeppelin 4 album, which is, of course, It's famous for supposedly if you spin it backwards, Stairway to Heaven
Hmm.
at a certain segment. The exact segment is if there are two, yes, there are two paths you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. So if you spin that backwards, supposedly it says, "Here's to my sweet Satan." And he would demonstrate this. Then he would bring out Judas Priest and Kiss. Yeah, Kiss, by the way, their initials stood for Knights in Satan's Service.
Wow.
And Rush was Runners Under Satan's Hand. Okay.
Mm.
Never mind. Well, I don't, we all know what Rush was named after. It's Canada's national flower. That's why they named themselves Rush. So,
Hmm.
anyways, but we would get this every year, and I became infatuated and fascinated by all of this cool stuff he'd bring. So it was having the opposite effect, that he intended.
Right.
And I would get my tapes and song albums on the black market of the elementary school or terrain there, and we would have to. My brother and I would have to come up with very creative ways of hiding this music because if my parents found it, they would destroy it or we'd get in trouble. And this is a true story. We used to have cassette tapes that were in freezer bags that were buried in the backyard.
Wow. Creative.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess that transition though, when I was at a very low point in my life, after being asked to leave the church, um, I my psyche, I guess you could say, connected with a group of musicians that were, basically saying things that my heart understood at that time.
Hmm.
And these were bands like Ministry and Trepon and Powell and Einstürzende Neubauten. And this music that I heard, it was brand new to me, but I started listening to it at that time because some people at work were listening to it, and I got exposed to it in that way. And that's where I really felt a kinship and connection with that form of music.
Cool.
So,
What kind of were they speaking to you, or what spoke to you at that point in your life so much?
well, you've heard "Pretty Hate Machine," right? The album by Nine Inch Nails.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so in particular, Trent Reznor wrote a song, masterpiece called "Terrible Lie," which when that was played, it almost sounded like he had been in my life and had been hanging with me, or he understood exactly what I was going through.
Hmm.
And so it really, I really connected with it in that way. Um, you know, and when you get, it's kind of in the industrial metal scene or the industrial music scene, it's kind of cool because when you get into one group that's into it, suddenly your friends are telling you, "Oh, you like Nine Inch Nails? Well, have you heard Laibach?
Right.
Oh, have you checked out Leather Strip?" We start going and looking at these other guys in the same genre, guys and gals that are making that music, and there's some really great art in that specific genre. But also metal as well, because there's nothing that really helps you vent your frustration or anger better than metal.
Totally. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So, yeah.
Awesome. So you kind of found your way into this, and then let's fast forward a little bit to 1998. You released your first album with Rorschach Test, or as Rorschach Test, with Slip Disc Records. Talk about that a little bit. How was that experience?
Okay, so I'll talk about Slip Disc in a minute here, but we actually put our first album out in 1993.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were independent for a while, and I was in Denver, Colorado at the time, and I got a band together in Denver, Colorado, a great band. And we didn't have much, but we did have a promoter guy that we had met kind of in the bar scene who called himself Neon Dion Griffith. Um, and Neon supposedly knew how to get things done in the music business. I think he really knew how to get things done in the cocaine business, probably a little bit better. But he was he really represented the band. Wanted to represent this band Rorschach test that we had gotten together there in Denver. And so he helped us put together a whole bunch of cassette tapes and send them all over the world. And we just kind of forgot about it at that point. And until about, I'd say 4 or 5 months later, he called us to his little apartment. He was all excited. He was like, guys, we got a big hit on this, on the tapes I sent out. And there's this woman in Seattle and she wants to manage you. And
Wow.
I really think that you need to take her up on this because she's got a lot of great things happening. And we trusted him and we said, let's just do it. And we were sick of Denver at that time too.
Mhm.
A lot was going on in Denver back in those days that was definitely not going on there now. It's become a different place, but back then it was not this, we were ready to get out of there basically. So we loaded up the van with all of our hefties and you know a hefty bags full of clothes and all of our gear and barely fit in there. And we drove to Seattle. This manager lady said, "Well, I have places to live for you guys until you get on your feet. The singer and the guitar player, Ben James, you come live with me." Then she set up everybody at different parts of the city of Seattle.
Wow.
It's really cool.
Yeah,
So
that's insane.
I didn't know what to expect when I got to this to the manager's house, but we walked down this long pathway to the waterfront of Seattle, right on the Puget Sound. And she had this kind of little cottage house that was there, and we walked in the place, and somebody was singing very loudly, kind of in a Robert Plant style, and playing guitar, and in this little room, and our host said, "Well, that's my boyfriend. He's working on some stuff, so leave him alone." That's what we call the captain's quarters, that little room. That's where he goes and he writes and things like that. But James, your bedroom's going to be over here. Ben, you're over here. So my first roommate when I moved to Seattle was Chris Cornell. Uh, yeah, and his girlfriend was Susan Silver. And she delegated us to a manager working under her, who took us places we never could even imagine back in Denver. I mean, within a couple of months, we were on the road with bands like Korn and playing with Typo Negative and Carcass and Queensryche, and
Dang.
it was just really
Just happened that quick, huh?
yeah. So so things were happening for us. We put out the 11th, which was our first independent release. After that, Slip Disc came along and showed some interest in us, but we were already involved in recording another record, and that record was Unclean, and we finished that by ourselves on our own. And Slip Disc said we released it on our own little label called Semaphore Records. So if you find a copy of the CD Unclean and it's the Semaphore one, you might want to hold on to it. There's very few of those that were printed.
Collector's edition.
Right, but Slip Disc came along and said, yeah, you guys, we love you guys. We want to sign you. And it was great for them because we had already, produced that record, and they just had to put their label on it. and throw it out there to the world. And they at first they did really good. And without getting into too much detail, let's just say you can ask anyone that was on the slip disc label what it was like. But we got our hopes up and we got them smashed pretty
Mm,
bad. The label, although it had a powerful name behind it, and that was David Shackler. Rest in peace, David. He let his son run the label. Frank Shackler was his name, and it just he did not have the skills that David had. Let's just put it that way. So,
gotcha.
so but
Yeah.
for a brief time there was so much excitement around that label and all the bands that were on it, and a lot of camaraderie between the label mates. I still talk to my friends in N17 who live where I do now, and so yeah, it's still, regardless of how negatively it impacted many people's career. For Rorschach Test, it really continued to put us on the map. And after the label folded, it was just a matter of weeks before somebody else wanted to pick us up. And unfortunately, they were, you know, the same kind of thing happened with them as with Slip
The
Disc.
tried and true tale of the music industry.
Right. So, but yeah, so the world was so much different then as a musician, and as much as I like to say that it's so much different today, it's kind of becoming the same thing. You know,
Hmm.
the giants are coming in and they're buying all the little guys and conglomerating and controlling the streams. And I think it
Right.
was 2024 where it got announced that unless you're, I forget what it was, somebody told me, unless you're doing like 1,000 streams a month or something like that, uh that's the only way you're going to get paid by Spotify. If you fall under a certain number of streams per month, they
Yeah.
they don't even bother accounting for you. They just, you're worthless. But there are other examples too. Wherever there's distribution of music, someone's going to come in and try to monopolize control and decide who gets distributed where. And that's really sad that it seems to be happening again.
Yeah.
I've talked about this with some other folks, and as independent as the internet is, um, I really wish someone would uh, you know go the distance and start a better streaming model for independent artists, and maybe they will soon. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're working on it. We'll see.
Yeah.
So did that maybe sour taste of working with those labels kind of lead to the hiatus, or what led to
No,
the
no. Well,
hiatus?
I guess you could say it was related, but you know, uh, related, loosely related, I should say,
Yeah.
because the hiatus, if you want to call it that, was simply due to the fact that I was going through tremendous mental health and substance use disorder issues, and it was time for me to take a break. And that break kind of came in waves, numerous attempts to try and get it right, and find some type of relief for what I was going through. And so it took quite a few years for me to find that formula. It's like if you've ever worked on music in the studio, it's like I know what I'm hearing in my head for this song, but it's just not coming out on the tape, no matter how hard I
Yeah.
right. It's just not being recorded right. And one day you get it right and it's perfect. And so I guess you could say for me, that has been definitely my struggle. And I've been very open about that. And the reason I'm open about it is that um, with people that are out there that may be fans of Rorschach test, I want to give a very clear message that if you are in a situation where you're dealing with negative mental health situations or substance use disorder, and they're usually connected, by the way, they don't just happen kind of, one over here, one over here. They're usually
Right.
connected. If you're in that situation, I want you to know that it's okay to say that you are, and don't be afraid of coming forward and saying, "Hey, man, I am struggling with this issue," because that's where uh, you can get started as to finding your solution and your perfect mix
Hmm.
for you in terms of your life. And yeah, so I'm very passionate these days about fighting what's called stigma. And stigma is the idea that someone that has a mental health or substance use disorder challenge is less than the rest of us. When in fact, if we're honest, we all of us, have mental health. Okay, that's
Right.
the truth, right? We all have
Right.
mental health, right? So just like the physical health, in mental health, at times we can catch a cold or a virus, or we can get the flu and
Totally.
not feel right. Now, I don't have any problem telling people, man, I've got a cold. I'm gonna stay home tonight because I've got a cold. Okay. But when it gets to the mental health, when we say, you know what, I've been having some very dark thoughts lately, we don't want to do that because we're afraid of what people are going to think of us and how we're going to be perceived.
Hmm.
And the stigma that goes on in our world regarding those things. That is exactly what I am passionate about fighting these days. And in fact, I went to college and got a degree in behavioral health.
Oh, wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, I can really tell that that's something you're passionate about. And just kind of in my research about you, I think that's super great and awesome that you're using your platform to promote that. Um, so I guess that the hiatus then was kind of just getting things back on track for you, and
Right.
um,
Yeah. Well, I went from being a guy who literally could fill a room with 100, 200, 300 friends, and we could party and drink all night or whatever. I went from that guy to being the guy that no one would pick up the phone for, and who didn't even want to spend 5 minutes with drinking because it's not fun to drink with somebody who's an alcoholic or has a drinking problem.
yeah,
It's no longer fun. It
yeah,
might have been a while ago, but now it's no longer fun. But yeah, so it was consuming my entire life. What those issues were, and so if I didn't, and I'm not saying that on my own. I did this on my own. I pulled my own bootstraps up, and I found my own solution. No, it took a lot of great people in my life, very patient people and loving people who took the time to give an SHIT. Sorry, I don't know if this is sensitive,
you're good. Yeah.
but those people who actually didn't give up and continued to be a support for me until I found the right formula for my successful mental health and substance use disorder recovery. So, and that again, I think is so important that we create a community where that exists. I really believe it's almost become a cliche now, but I really believe in the idea that the opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is community. I really
Mm,
believe that. I really believe that when we have a community that is caring, supportive, accepting, uh, that gets rid of addiction in many situations because
yeah.
person is connected to his community and feels like he is a valid part of that community, that he's viable, that he's important, that he's needed. That replaces all of these other things that we tend to look towards to bring us that type of fulfillment,
Right.
so
Yeah. Do you feel like so okay, so you're kind of back on track now and the band is back. We've
mm,
got Rorschach test, a cybernetic organism with an overlay of human flesh. We've
mm,
got Colby Peoples on guitar absolutely shredding it.
you can't believe this guy. I mean, I
Yeah.
I get to work with him, every week still, and we just finished a couple new tracks last night in the studio, and I can't believe this kid, and he's not really a kid. I call him a kid, but
Yeah.
he is so talented, so impressive, and really, I'm hopeful that when we get out there on the road, doing the shows that we're going to do live, that someone much bigger than Rorschach test is going to be in the audience and says, "Colby, oh man, come play with
Yeah.
for." Because I feel like I almost feel guilty that he's with my project. You know, I mean, really, the guy's so good. And in Phoenix, where we're at right now, everybody in the local community here knows who he is. He is just famous here in this little pocket,
Hmm.
the metal community of Phoenix. But they all have begged him to play for their bands and be in their project. And I didn't even ask. He just sort of kept coming every day and working with me, and it is like, yeah. So I feel really, really grateful that he's involved with us.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds like a great partnership. And then also we have a new character, I believe, the narcoleptic goddess. She's elusive. She's mysterious. Who is she? What's the deal?
Yeah, boy, I wish I knew, man. No, she is very elusive and mysterious. Yeah, so the song "Fallen" that we did that video on, the first video we put out for this album, and it's actually the title of the record too, "Fallen." Um, she wrote the lyrics to that, so which that is the absolute first time. I should say first, but there was another time where someone gave me some lyrics and we eventually worked them into a song. That was Kennedy James, the song "Shocking" that's on Peace Minus One. He wrote most of the lyrics for that. But she wrote all of the lyrics to "Fallen," gave them to me, and read them, and I was like, "Wow, these are great." And I was like, "I'm working on a song right now. I think these will work for it." We just kind of, it definitely did work for it, and then we gave that to Colby, and he made it work even better. And wow, so we had a really cool formula going. But the narcoleptic goddess is social media siren, I guess you could say, or send. She's that's where her success has been,
Hmm.
is on social media platforms. And really, I watched this happen. She got diagnosed with a mental health condition herself, which was called narcolepsy. Um, she was having sleep issues and was tired all the time, and sometimes she didn't know if she was awake or asleep.
Oh,
Uh,
geez.
so they said, well, you have narcolepsy, you might have REM sleep disorder as well. We don't know yet, but you might have that as well. Later on, they tested, and she has that too,
Dang.
REM sleep disorder. So rather than becoming just totally defeated and discouraged, she had an old, outdated iPhone, was on Facebook, started a group, wondering if anybody else out there in the community of Facebook had these issues. And 5 years later, she has over 500,000 followers. It's a huge page. It's a completely organic. She didn't buy any of her followers.
Mm.
So they're all there organically, and it's just a really, really cool and strange and unique community of people, which we found was even more cool when she shared Fallen with her community. All of a sudden, Rorschach test is getting all sorts of new followers, and oh my God, where have you been my whole life, type of thing. So it's pretty neat, that symmetry that's working there. And she also wrote another song that's going to be on the album, which is called "Embracing the Shadow," and so
Cool.
yeah, and that's really where she's at and what she does. To a degree, honestly, who she is to the rest of the world is, again, I think that's kind of like Rorschach test. It's left up to them and their uh, whatever their subjective opinion is.
Yeah.
Or yeah, so
Cool. Man, well, I can't wait to learn more about her as things keep coming out.
yeah, yeah.
So you said she wrote all of the lyrics for Fallen, which that
Mhm.
came out in May, I believe, right?
Right.
On
Yeah.
National Goth Day.
Right. Yeah.
That's
Uh-huh.
fun. How
Yeah.
did that go, the music video and everything?
Oh, it was amazing. You know, so I'm doing all this recording work at Fullwell Recording Studios here in Phoenix. And it's a studio owned by a guy named Mike Bolenbach. Mike worked on a few famous records, and everybody in the business here in the West Coast knows who he is for sure. And he's just got a great studio that's kind of a combination of analog and digital stuff.
Mm.
But it's great for old men like myself who are used to, recording in those analog environments. Uh, and we expect to have, clunky old machines that take 15 minutes to warm up and things like that. So he has all of that, which is great. But he also has digital stuff, and ultimately, I should backtrack. That's exactly where I met Colby. Was
Mm.
that I had brought Fallen to those guys, and we had begun tracking it. And when it got to the section when the guitars rip in, I was thinking to myself, uh, man, this is where we need to get some live guitar here. We really do. And so I asked Mike Bullenbach if he knew anybody that played guitar. And he pointed over to his little engineer guy, this long-haired kid, and he was like, "Colby plays guitar." And so I felt in one of those really awkward situations, where I'm like,
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, oh, great, an engineer who plays guitar. Wow. I'm like, well, all right, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm going to call Jeff Loomis when I get out of here and see if he'll do it. And Jeff Loomis did Peace Minus One, the whole album. He recorded all the guitars on that album in one day.
Wow.
So, which is
Dang.
yeah, no rehearsal, no nothing. Just sit down, and he heard, that's a different story, but amazing guy. But anyways, Colby's like, yeah, I'll take a crack at it. And interestingly enough, when he played on that track, I got the same goosebumps, the same amazement that I got when Jeff was doing Piece Minus One. I was like, man, this guy is not just good. He is beyond that. He is great. He's
Hmm.
very special. And so I didn't plan on having a guitar solo at all on this thing. Okay. So I thought to myself, but there was this section where it might work. So I thought, can you write a guitar solo for this section? Oh yeah, sure, Colby. And that guitar solo was phenomenal. You know,
Yeah, it's
it's so
insane.
weird and wacky, but it makes sense too. I'm like, wow, that you know. So yeah, he that's the story of Colby. I also asked Mike, do you know anyone that does video here? And he's like, Alex Chacon. Well, he had already told me, turned me on to Colby, and he was more than spot on. So I thought to myself, yeah, let's call Alex. We did. We met, and we came up with this vision of the storyline, and he cast all the actors here locally within one day, and we were in business. I mean, we shot. It came together so fast. I've never seen anything come together that fast. So
Awesome. It looks
oh,
great. It's a cool video.
yeah, yeah, and the narcoleptic goddess is the black angel in that video. I don't know if you know that or not, but
Yeah,
that's
yeah, I put that together. Yeah.
so. Anyways, Alex is he'd never done a project like that before either. He doesn't have like reels of rock videos. That we are it. We're it, man. We're the
Hmm,
one. That type of a production. We were the first ones that he's worked with in that regard. And now he's working with a lot of different people and is excited about those opportunities as well.
cool.
And we are too. I mean, we're also really looking forward to the next video, which is going to be embracing the shadow. We think. But on that one, we're going to work with a guy here who's also local by the name of Jim Laveau. And Jim is a really famous photographer and videographer. He just was on the road with Kerry King and doing a bunch of video work for him. Prior to that, he did Sebastian Bach's new video, the one where he jumps out of the grave. I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen it.
Hmm.
But he's also taken a lot of really great rock photos. He's Maynard's photographer from Tool, and
Oh, wow.
he does all kinds of really impressive photo work. And he's going to do our next video, and he also is going to accompany us on this tour we're going to go on starting in January because he's the front man of the band There Is No Us.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So, and that's a Cleopatra recording artist. But if you haven't heard them, definitely check him out. I think you'll like him. They're really kind of a industrial punk. Uh, yeah, very impressive act. So we're
Okay.
playing with them as well.
And
Yeah.
that was There Is No Us.
There is no us. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. And then moving along, we have you had your single Belated just came out, the second single off the upcoming record.
Right.
It was released early August via Revolver, which is super sick.
Yeah.
Everybody go check that out. There's a video for that as well, I think with some of the lyrics and stuff too. But this one really stuck out to me because it's where I really noticed the passion behind your mission and trying to bring, substance abuse disorder and mental health issues to the forefront and destigmatize and all that. Do you have anything that sticks out about recording this song or writing this song in your memory?
Yeah, there's so much. Well, that song has been living with me and inside me for let's see, 18 about 6 years before we actually recorded it and finished it. It started a while ago because someone in my family, my immediate, someone in my immediate family was very close with somebody who lost the battle, if we can put it that way.
Mm.
And you know, this person, although I had never met him personally, um, this person, for some reason, made a big impression on me. Well, actually, there's a reason for it, and I don't want to, get too personal here, but the person that we're referring to was actually my son's biological dad.
Mm.
So
I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah, so I I have a son. My wife and I have a son. He's an amazing teenager right now. He's just 14. He's just an amazing kid. But before I came into the picture and in his life, his biological dad was someone who lost the battle. And I heard the story about it from him and from his mom. And, again, not having never met this man, not knowing anything about him personally, I started getting, I believe it was haunted and inspired by him, or by his story anyway.
Wow.
And his story is not really unique. I mean,
Right.
while we're doing this interview, at least 4,000 people are going to go to the hospital and probably overdose and die.
Jeez.
So it's not unique. But the thing is that something about his story just was all over me and influencing me and inspiring me. And the lyrics I wrote to that song went from pen to paper in probably less than 10 minutes.
Wow.
And really, what was going on there, I felt, was that, this I was being given a message by someone who lost the battle, who wanted to say goodbye. He didn't have a chance to say goodbye in person. He wanted to say goodbye from where he was at that time. And, I think that is, and I want to be very clear here that a lot of times suicide is not intentional these days. Um, I mean, not so much, not so clearly defined, as someone who writes a suicide note or does a suicide pact or something like that. But so many people these days are afflicted with substance use disorder, and they can't get out of that prison that they're in. And it's a slower suicide, but it still is the same thing, basically. I mean, if you're doing something to your body on a daily basis that could potentially kill you, and you continue to do it, that's that's the same thing in my book. But
Hmm.
yeah, so I kind of just got those lyrics down, and we started messing with the music, and I started messing with the music, and I have probably 100 versions of it on my computer, but
Wow.
none of it worked. None of them worked until this current formula that we've got going got plugged in, and I played one of those many versions for Colby. And Colby immediately went to work. And one day he looked at me and said, this is probably one of the very best songs I've ever worked on. And that was something to me because Fullwell Studios, where he works, Fullwell Recording Studios, they are booked solid 7 days a week for probably the next, I don't know, eons, for as long as they. Okay, there's no time at the studio. It's completely booked up. And Colby, as one of the producers and engineers that works there, he probably goes through at least 5 projects per week. where he's recording for people, all kinds of different genres, all kinds of different people. And so for him to say that this was that was probably one of the best songs that he'd ever worked on, I was like, wow, well, thanks. And he put a lot of time and effort into it, and we're really excited about how it came out, and more excited though about hopefully the effect it's going to have in connecting with people who might be in that situation. Um, you know, we want you we don't want you to be saying goodbye from some place that's not here on this earth. I mean, literally, again, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but if someone's in that situation, we want them to know it's okay to speak up and say, hey, you know, I feel lost at this point. I feel hopeless. I don't feel like I could ever get out of this funk that I'm in. That's where the conversation starts, and that's where actually the dots start getting connected, and help can actually come.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And both those singles are going to be on the album that's coming out Halloween this year, right?
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
Also
Yeah.
produced by Mike Bolenbach.
Mike Bullenbach and Colby Peoples, the guitar player, is also producing, and he's also got a writing credit too.
Wow, look at that.
So yeah, the Narcoleptic Goddess has a couple of tracks on there as well, and yeah, so we're excited about the album. We literally just finished. Well, that we've got one last song to finish, and it'll be done. So, but
Wow.
last night we put another two in the bag, and so there's one left to do, and then it'll be ready for release.
Man, that's got to be super
Yeah,
exciting.
it is, especially since this is probably the only record that I've recorded that I'm. It's weird, but I'm actually a fan of the record myself. 'Cause
That's great.
I mean, Unclean and Peace Minus One. I still can't listen to them to this day.
Yeah.
You
It happens after
know?
you sit there and listen to it 1,000 times over and over, but
Right.
that's cool
Well,
that you're still enjoying this one.
yeah. Well, no, but the reason why is for me when I listen to Peace Minus One or Unclean, I still hear in my head the way that I thought it should be, the way that I
Mm,
wanted it. You know.
yeah,
But with this album, Fallen, that we're doing right now, it is exactly and beyond my expectations of what I wanted it to be.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, and those fans of Rorschach Test who uh, have been concerned over the years, and there's quite a few of them who have been concerned over the years that we're just not quite metal enough. Not they won't have any problem with this record. So
Awesome.
it's got some heaviness to it for sure. Yeah.
That's cool. So you guys are putting that out on Halloween and then gearing up for a US tour in the new year. That's exciting, huh?
Yeah, yeah. So we're the way we're going to tour moving forward. And I took some notes from some other musicians that I have deep respect for. Uh, we're not going to go on the 180 days around the world type
Great
tours.
call.
Yeah. No, we're gonna go out for like a week or two at the time, two at the most at a time. We're gonna start on the West Coast, in the West, and then we already are starting to book in March. We got Chicago booked, and we're gonna kind of branch out from there. Then we're gonna stop, and then we're gonna go to the East Coast, and we're gonna take our time and I'm going to be selective about the venues we're playing at. It kind of experience is a cool thing to have, at least when you're getting older. That's one thing to have anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and I know that talking about mental health and even substance use disorder, um, you know I'm just going to be very honest. If you are prone to these types of situations and problems, going on a 6-month tour is probably not a good idea for you. Okay.
Right. Totally.
So I'm going to go out for a week or two at the most, and we are gonna get out there and see everybody, but we're going to do it in our time, and we're going to take it easy, and it's going to be that's the way we're just going to do it, and we can't wait to get out there and see people again and meet all the new friends too. So many new friends.
Yeah, for sure. And this leg of the tour is with There Is No Us, who you mentioned, and Spiral Death Curse is
Oh,
opening.
yeah. Well, Spiral Death Course, and then we've also added Torso to the bill. They're going to be opening. So it'll be Torso, Spiral Death Curse, There Is No Us, and Rorschach Test, and the Narcoleptic Goddess is going to be there at times in between sets. I mean, I don't know when and what she's going to do or where she's going to be. I do know that she's getting on stage to play bass, uh,
Okay.
a couple songs with Rorschach Test. And if you're a Gear fan, you're gonna love her bass. It's custom Kiesel. Oh my goodness, it's so cool. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's just an amazing. It's a magical bass. Really good. So we're
Cool.
excited about that, and yeah, we're gonna start in, of all places, Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah, and that's on January 17th, it looks
Right.
like.
John
Yeah.
Henry's, downtown Eugene, Oregon. We're really looking forward to kicking things off there. We move up there to Seattle, to El Corazon, and that's going to be very cool. But you can go on the website and see the places we're playing. I will say that if you're in that area, or even if you want to travel and see us from someplace else, if you're looking at the perfect show to see us, if you want my pick of where to go, it would be on Monday the 20th. So, and
Tacoma,
that's
Washington.
yeah, and yeah, it's because of the venue. The venue is uh, it's called McMiniman's Elks Temple Spanish Ballroom. It's got a long name, but basically McMiniman's, that's a family in the Northwest who they got a whole bunch of investment capital to go and save historic buildings, and basically transform them into these incredible hotels and live music places. And so that's what this Elks Temple is. It's an old Masonic temple. It's
Oh,
like super
cool.
spooky inside.
Yeah.
It's just really going to be a great gig. We're totally excited about being able to play there. And yeah, but we'll be in LA and Las
Yeah,
Vegas.
that's a big one, right? Where are you guys playing there?
Oh, that's at the Whiskey. Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah. Whiskey A Go Go on
go.
Sunset. That's
Yes.
huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So the whiskey's great. There's been a lot of really cool stuff in planning this tour. We got booked at when we got that whiskey show, I didn't realize that that was actually going to be right in the middle of NAM. So, the NAM convention's going to be going on. And
Hmm.
so now it's really turned into kind of a special event. It's going to be an industry showcase. If you have a VIP pass, you get to come and probably enjoy free cocktails and all that good stuff. So it's going to be neat.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that sounds fun. And then you guys have a couple of really special partners on this tour as well. Do you want to talk about that?
yeah. So by and partners is probably too strong of a word right now. What I will say is that these are organizations that we support. And so we are partners definitely in our view of helping people with substance use disorders and mental health issues. And that would be NAMI, would be the first one. And you can find a NAMI office group, whatever, anywhere in the United States and even beyond the United States. It's the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and its primary focus is combating suicidal ideation. And you know, there's a lot of great families that have unfortunately gone through the pain of somebody taking their own life that are involved with NAMI, and their mission is to create awareness about this problem, for other families to be able to look and identify, certain things that are going on if a person is actually experiencing those types of things. And I'm all about that. I also like a foundation that in Chicago that's involved with the Cold Waves Festival. That's near and dear to my heart because uh, it was it was started after someone that I toured with and um, got to know on the road quite a bit. Made that decision as well, and that was Jamie Duffy of the band DJ Acucrack,
Mhm.
or Acumen Nation as well. So yeah, so then Kairos is more of a organization that believes in a model of quote unquote recovery, that relies on the principle of peer support or community. So peer support's kind of a hot word these days. It's one of those buzzwords, buzz phrases or whatever. But ultimately, what peer support is it's that same thing we were talking about earlier in our conversation. It's community getting involved and embracing the situation rather than pretending that it's not there. And I'm just as guilty myself. I mean, every day here in Phoenix, when I go for even a 2 mile drive, I will pass at least 5 or 6 bus stops where someone is nodded out.
Yeah.
Bus stop, and it's really easy for us to kind of grow numb to all that and pretend like, well, it's not directly impacting me, so I'm not really going to worry about it right now. But whether you believe it, whether you know it or not, that guy at the bus stop is impacting you in ways. He really is.
Right.
And I don't want to get too much into politics and things of that nature, but I will say that the very fact that we are ignoring this huge amount of people that are struggling with this is impacting every single American citizen today, whether you admit it or not. It is.
Right. Definitely.
Our healthcare systems are completely overrun at this point. We don't know what to do. And it's because we ignore it. We're like, oh yeah, we're just going to push more monsters under that carpet and hope that the carpet grows bigger. It doesn't.
Right.
So we've got to come up with some new ways of thinking, and some new approaches to something that's such a huge and obvious problem in our world right now. And it got much worse. It got much worse during the pandemic.
Hmm.
Um, and I think after the pandemic, it was kind of like, it was already out of the bag, and we're really not sure how to deal with it right now. So I'm asking people to collectively join with me, and let's figure it out. We have to. We need to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I
Um,
think a start is just by simply reaching out to anyone who's listening and saying, "Hey, man, if you are having this issue, just just say it. Say the words out loud. I am having problems with substance abuse. Just say it, man. Then from there, the ball can get rolling into much more positive territories for you. So
right.
yeah.
Well, I think that's a great spot for us to end it. Did you have anything else you wanted to mention or talk about?
Yeah, let's see. I just think I just again want to express a lot of gratitude to my camp that surrounding me. That's the narcoleptic goddess, and I should probably just let everybody know that the reason that she's involved so much in my life is that she's my wife.
Hmm.
But she's still all that mysterious stuff that's going on. But I just want to say how grateful I am to my friends and family that are around me and supporting me, and to the fans out there. Again, oh my, I can't believe that people that were listening to Rorschach Test 25 years ago maybe saw one of our very few shows that we've done out there. Um, I can't believe that after all of these years, you're still hanging out. You're sick, man. You need help. So no, I'm seriously grateful for the fans, for Mike Bolenbach, for Colby, Alex Chacon, all of these people that are in my professional life right now. I'm in a stronger place than I've ever been, musically and personally, and we're just really excited about continuing on and putting out more records. The next project that Colby and I are going to do is reimagining the album Unclean. We're going,
Oh, awesome.
we're going to start from scratch, and we are going to re-record every song on Unclean, um, and
Get
with
it
him
out how you want it.
exactly.
That's
So
great.
So we're excited about that. And yeah, and thanks to you guys too, man. I'm always blown away when someone wants to have me on their show. I'm like, really? Okay.
Oh,
Let's just
absolutely. Yeah, it was an awesome conversation. Thanks for chatting with us today. Everybody be sure to check out the new music video Fallen on YouTube. Stream the new single Belated on Spotify. Keep an eye out for the album, also called Fallen, dropping on Halloween, and catch Rorschach Test on tour in 2025.
yeah. Thanks. Thanks, you guys.